All right, we're ready. Are we,
Are we what? You don't have to get that. I'll just sit and smile.
sorry about that. Busy day.
Fine.
That's okay.
Let's open up. Who's going to start?
You didn't want to do the pledge.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It is?
Yeah, it's on his
And we're going to do the pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And then just a motion.
Excuse me?
A motion to open and then I move we open the meeting.
Any change? We have motion and second. Any changes to the agenda? No, sir. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
It was Larry's second.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, well, one agenda item tonight, we have with us representatives from MCOR, and we've not worked with MCOR before, but we have worked with Haybolt. They have all the controls in the corporation, and MCOR is, if I understand it correctly, kind of the name of the company that works with schools and cities and government groups. It's the umbrella that carries them under that. So we had, when we got ready to do the CCTV portion of the safety and security plan, as you know, you generally get an architect and you get a plan, and you start going through. Well, we decided that we were going to look, after talking with several other superintendents and programs that they've just done, we would look at a design build. And basically, in a design build, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it because I'm going to let Tim explain it. But in a design build, you work with a established fee, established pricing, and then pretty much that's what you stay with. If you decide to have things, you're going to pay for them, but the one thing you don't have to worry about is, oh, we made a mistake in the design of this. If that happens, then that's their issue, not ours. So we have two gentlemen with us tonight. Tim Pitts, he's their business development rep, and Whitey Reed, who is the branch manager of Cable in South Mid. And Tim's going to describe the process of the design build better than I did, and then we'll have Whitey talk about the actual project for a few minutes. And you can ask questions, and we'll decide the direction we want to go.
Okay.
Tim?
Thank you, Dan. Once again, Tim Pitts and Whitey Reed. Actually, MCOR, you guys have worked with Hable for a long time. Hable's been around since 1951 as a controls provider in Shambaugh and Son. MCOR is really the holding company, but like Dan said, he's absolutely right. My job, I only work with schools and government entities through guaranteed savings contracts and design build in the government side of things. So I've known Dan for quite a while. I knew we've done all the controls work here. So they came to me and said, hey, how can we do this type of project without hiring an architect, without going out and maybe doing multiple quotes or doing it phased? How can we do it all at once and cut out really a layer of markup? And that's where we come in. You're still using, we're a guaranteed savings provider. And there's really the plan and spec where you hire an architect, you bid everything out, you have change orders, things can, all can change, or there's Senate Bill 1158, which we are doing, where it's a guaranteed maximum price not to exceed, a no change order process, and it's accepted by the state, by Senate Bill 1158, excuse me, it's accepted by the state for bidding requirements. What we did was we went out for an RFQ. When that comes in, you would select us, or if there were other companies that came in and were interested, and you could interview, you don't have to. It's just like hiring an architect, but we do that, and that satisfies the state bidding requirements by going out for an RFQ. I believe the RFQ is due tomorrow maybe. And then you will select the provider from there. One of the things I wanted to say about, or a few of the things, you guys have a little packet. I told Dan I'd put a little PowerPoint together, but he goes, Tim, we don't have enough time for a 45-minute presentation or anything, so I said, okay. But this is really a design build through the Senate Bill 1158 process. There's also a Senate Bill 74, which is design build as well. And what that is for new buildings. This is more of a retrofit renovation where you don't have to hire an architect out, because at the end of the day, meeting with Dave Schoaf and meeting Jim and these guys, hey, we want to use Havel, we want to use your product. And what would happen is you hire an architect, Whitey's guys engineer it, design it, we do everything, and then you hire somebody else. So we're basically what we're doing is cutting out a layer of markup. You're hiring us direct. We've actually done about 75 of these throughout the state. I've been with Shambaugh & Son Havel, MCOR, for 7 years now, and I sold a job right down the road at Triton Schools. We did a $4 million job. Right now, with security there's 4 schools I can think of: Eastern Howard Community Schools, Garrett Community Schools, Fremont, and potentially Plymouth, where we're doing the same process. So it's all through Senate Bill 1158, guaranteed savings. Like I said, there's no change orders to this. True open book pricing is something we do differently than any architect, engineering firm, or any other type of guaranteed savings providers. We open up all our books where you're going to see every man hour of Whitey's guys down to every nut and bolt that's used on that job. And let's say we estimate, I don't know how many hours it's going to take for Jim's project to go, or for the security project to go, but let's say it's a 500-hour project. We're going to estimate that, and let's say it only takes our guys 450 because we self-perform all the work. You're not going to get charged those 50 hours, and that's something, it's been huge. The first time we did this was with Duneland Schools. We did a $9 million project with Duneland and returned $700,000 to them because we didn't have to use all the hours we estimated. If you would go the traditional route, they estimate the hours just like Whitey would do with his guys, and any type of savings goes right in the pockets. And I'm like, and everybody's like, well, why wouldn't you want to do that? Well, we do want to keep more, but we understand through the government, we offer this now, the open book pricing through all our government entities, because we know how the budgets are, and any type of savings, you're probably going to reinvest it or use it somewhere else you need to in schools. You're not going to put it back toward a bond or anything, because you have more needs probably than this project. So Triton Schools is another example, is we returned enough money to them over a $4 million project where they air conditioned their gym and did several other things to their school that they wanted to do, but it wasn't at the highest level priority, but they had savings throughout the project. So I would say 80% of the projects I've sold since the Duneland job in 2008 that we do all open book pricing, we've returned some to them. So we also, as I said earlier, we design, we install, and we service the projects. Dave knows that. You guys, most of you know that we do service here and do the controls. And they're vendor neutral. That's where Whitey and Dave and Jim had sat down to talk about, here's all the providers you can use for this camera or that camera, and I think they all sat down and decided. So the customer has a lot more control through this process of the project. We're not going to come back and say, well, that's not going to fit in your budget, because we're already working through the budgets, and you're able to pick your own equipment and your own provider, per se. So pretty much that's what I have in a nutshell, how this process, in a quick 5-minute, how it's different than your traditional plan and spec to guaranteed savings contract design build. So if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer that, or I can wait till Whitey's done. Whatever.
Good evening, I'm Whitey Reed. I'm the branch manager of Havel, South Bend, and Kalamazoo operations. As Dan and Tim both said, we have worked with Plymouth Community Schools for, gosh, nearly 26 years as Hable Brothers doing the building automation systems on the HVAC project. Again, the Hable, MCOR, Shambaugh & Son. Hable is a DBA of Shambaugh & Son out of Fort Wayne, Indiana, which is 100% wholly owned subsidiary of MCOR Group out of Connecticut. Is how that whole thing ties together. In front of you is an outline of the project. 7 tabs in there. First part is just a quick overview, cover letter that explains in here is the bill of material, the building floor plans, the product data sheets, the card access upgrades that will be done in one of the buildings, the Cisco switches for the IT product that we need to provide, implementation schedule, and then the last one is a weather century that is just an optional item. Real quickly, just to go through the tabs with you, on tab number 1 is just a 11 by 17 spreadsheet based by the building that'll go in, the camera type, the products that'll go in, all of the materials that will, of the Pelco Schneider Electric products that will be installed in these facilities. Then the second tab is the floor plan, starting with the administration building and working back. These are outlines, if you will. These are schematic design right now. The final placement of camera, final camera selection, of course, Jim Phillips and our design team will complete these drawings as we move forward, but we wanted to put together for you to show you where these were and what our preliminary designs were. So all the facilities that are in there. The third tab is the information on the Pelco cameras, all the cameras, the information that's in there, the product that's going to be used, the DVRs, the server, all the mounting information is there. The fourth tab is the Infinius card access system that will go in Menominee. The rest of your facilities have Infinius in them right now. That facility does not. It's got another product in it. So the discussion was we are going to integrate the card access system, so if a door would happen to be jammed, try to be forced open or propped open outside of the parameters in the card access system, a camera will be able to turn, focus onto that school, onto that door, see what's going on with that. And Infinius and Pelco, their product integrates together very easily, so we can make that happen for you. On the fifth tab is the Cisco switches for the IT that Bruce has specified that you currently use throughout the facilities right now. So we will be using the exact same equipment. There will be no change for you on your information technology switches and routers and all that fun stuff. And then tab number 6 is a quick overview of the schedule, starting with if we're awarded and told to move forward, we would start procurement next Monday and start on the facilities going down through here, just a rough idea, and be completed with the project by the middle of April with all the security in there. And again, this is based on just a quick outline of where we thought the scope of work and the performance would be, working with Dave Shope and Jim Phillips to get all that in. Tab number 7, Schneider Electric has another group in Omaha, Nebraska, that's Weather Century, is about finding lightning strike and all that, and it's just an optional offering that Jim Phillips and the athletic director here had some discussion about, and because this is all a Schneider product, we asked them to give us a price in there for you as well. Quick overview, everything is going to be designed, sold, serviced, and installed through our Hable South Bend branch. Everything will funnel through a project manager who has had a relationship here at Plymouth. Dave's been with us 36 years now, so he knows this facility like the back of his hand, has a great relationship with Dave Shope, so he will work directly for Jim Phillips, if you will, and he will be directed by Jim on this project. And of course, the burden of everything falls squarely upon my shoulders, so if there's any problems, questions, concerns, I will be available 24/7 to answer any questions, get any issues resolved. And to reiterate what Tim talked about on the open book billing process, we get to any discussions about what the State Board of Accounts looks at. The State Board of Accounts absolutely loves our open book process. If something was ever audited, everything is transparent. When an invoice from a vendor comes into our operation, all of our transactions are done in Fort Wayne. An invoice comes in, it's opened, it's immediately scanned into the system and shredded. We do not process tons and tons of paper. We shred that and then move on. So everything is electronic. Once it's verified, you will have access to log in and you will be able to see all those invoices. When our labor is performed, timesheets are turned in on Monday, verified, posted, and payroll is processed for Tuesday PM. When our server is updated, you will then be able to go in and see the previous week's labor, who worked on the project, what his labor charges were, and it shows his hourly rate, his tax burden and benefit burden brought over, dropped down, and everything is it's 100% transparent. When you look at the Schneider Electric Pelco product, everything is through GSA Advantage, where Dave Schoaf has purchased and has done on products through GSA Advantage. GSA Advantage through General Service Administration, to where public entities can go out and buy product and services that pricing has been prearranged to be the best price, the best value, and the best offering through that. So that's how all the product is coming to you as well. That's my 5-minute.
They were here earlier today, did a little demonstration. The cameras are we did some work a few years ago when we did the cameras in the auditorium. They've been even more advanced than that. At that time, you could put a quarter on the gym floor and zoom in from the ceiling camera and tell what the date of that quarter was. So it's a demonstration that the cameras have even gotten better. But I guess the other big reason that we're meeting is we want to be very transparent about the process that we're using. We want everybody to understand what it is and have an opportunity to ask questions about the process. So you feel comfortable with it. So that's where we are.
Whitey, what kind of a timetable are you on as far as, you said you would start probably next week or whenever, but when would you have all the facilities incorporated?
The way the schedule stands right now, Larry, we would be 100% complete on April the 18th. And based upon access, if Jim says, I'd like to complete sooner, we can man up and do it sooner. It just depends on the access to the school. One thing that I didn't cover is 100% of all of our employees, starting with me all the way down through our warehousemen, we are all background searched, checked, tested, stamped, sealed, and approved. So, and all of our guys have been that way for years since we've been working in the school corporation for it as well. So you will have that. If you need that information, our HR department can provide all of that for you as well.
Yeah, we do have a policy that requires that. So.
Yeah. Anybody that comes in the building to work will have to, you'll have to provide that to them before they walk in and work, and then we'll have that on record.
Yes.
I don't know who the question would be answered by, but looking at the floor plans, that's great, but there's a two-part question. Will the system be, that we're looking at, be able to be upgraded at any point if we want to add more cameras within the building at a later date?
Yes.
And are we looking at putting cameras out in the parking lots too?
Yeah, there are. This plan covers the parking lots.
Right.
There's some at your house too.
Can't get ties.
They'll be able to tell they'll be able to tell what day I've got my Cardinals gear on, what day I've got my Packers gear on. Cardinals, right?
I know we've worked with Halo Brothers for years, as you alluded to, and we've always had outstanding service and professionalism. And I'm sure this would carry through with this project as well.
It's no different. The only reason I'm here, Larry, and we've known each other for a while, is to help procure a project a different way. And really, it's a little different process, but we feel if there isn't, we work with architects all the time, but we feel if you're a customer and we can offer this to you and offer you stuff we do in-house and can self-perform, we feel we cut out a layer of markup or a need for your Plymouth schools or other schools don't need to pay. And it's just not the security what we self-perform. It's, I told Dave and Dan and a few others that, if there's a boiler project that comes up now, you've selected us through an RFQ. If you like this open book and the transparency and you want to do a couple boilers 2 years down the road, you've selected us as your provider. Doesn't mean you can't go out and hire an architect, but we're your guaranteed savings provider until you advertise again and if you want to use somebody else. But what I had mentioned to Dave is if you like the open book, you like this, we can give you a price, show you exact costs and agreed upon markup, and Whitey can do everything open book for you from there. And once you see it, it's pretty neat. I did a webinar for Candy last week with our CFO. So,
And the same, Larry, the same folks that have been working here for years will be performing this project as well.
so I don't want to confuse you with the MCOR thing. That's how we brand ourselves for
Right.
public or for the schools.
Now, the funding of this was approved in the budget,
It's a grant, right?
the grant,
Well, it's not, no, it's
This is on bond issue.
the GEO bond. Okay.
Approximately $1.4 million in bonds.
Right.
And the biggest part of that was to do this type of project. There were some other projects, but the biggest part of it was for the CCTV.
And maybe I'm probably to blame for you guys being here, but so you didn't blame me. But at the last meeting, there was some paperwork regarding this process that was presented, kind of after the meeting. I said, whoa, wait a minute, I didn't know we were using this process.
Right.
Because I think when we went through the bonding process, there was no discussion of guaranteed savings. I guess I would have anticipated, a traditional, bid or kind of bid or whatever it's called. So that's why I want everyone to be aware of I'm not aware that we've used this process before. That's why I asked, and I appreciate you guys coming down to explain that. I was a little confused by design build, because in my mind, that's a whole different process in terms of, and I'm more accustomed to that for new construction as opposed to what we're doing here, so thank you for the explanation.
Yes, it is, Todd, and the thing is this used to be called guaranteed energy savings, and it could only be, you could only build a project if the energy paid for the project. And then they changed the legislation about 2002, and now it's called guaranteed savings contracts. They've added security in it, they've added other operating maintenance, so you can build a bigger project in it. And I'd like to say it's design build like, because Whitey sat down with Jim,
Just when I hear those words.
Yes, that's why I tried to say 74 and
Yeah,
1158.
I understand. And, I've worked on a lot of energy savings projects in my years, and I appreciate you coming here, and I appreciate the relationship that we've had for years. I've just seen some projects use that legislation that should have never been using that legislation. I'll just be honest. And I think you guys are probably aware of some of those.
Yes.
They kind of take on a life of their own and kind of give it a bad name, if you will. One of those years ago was just down the highway here in Rochester, so I just needed to hear it. I wanted to hear it, because the name, I'm not, the avoided costs and those types of things, I think is sometimes, I'm an accountant, so you can make that stuff work.
Right.
But, so I appreciate the explanation, and I think that, just so everyone is aware, I mean, I don't see any issues here. It can be a process that people have utilized. It's like, well, do we really want to have to publicly bid this work? And, so it can bring on, and I've been in some arenas where that's a real issue, to avoid the public bidding, because there won't be public bidding. So I just want to make sure everybody's aware of what we're contemplating here and go in it with our eyes open. Appreciate that.
You know, and to that end, that's the open book billing process, that's why we've adopted that. It's just, it's open book unless, you know, a public entity says we just want a firm price and let it go with that. The open book process is just so transparent, and it keeps everything at an arm's reach that way, and you see what the costs are, and if there's ever anybody that asks, the books are open.
And one of the other things that gives me great comfort, not only you guys and the history that we have, is Dave Shelf. Because if something's not smelling right, Dave's gonna sniff that out pretty quickly. That's my experience. And Jim, I expect the same. I anticipate the same. So, because, you know, sometimes when I hear there's no change orders, it's like, okay, but those are built in up front. You know, so there's, I've not heard of the open book process before, so I appreciate that.
Just to give you a quick overview of how it came, Shambaugh & Son was, our company was founded in 1926.
I'm very familiar with Shambaugh & Son.
We do a tremendous amount of food process work all over the country, and 95% of our work is design build in the food process industry and the mechanical contracting business. And we've adopted in that food process work the open book process as well. So we can go in, probably the greatest project to talk about is Chobani Building Factory in Twin Falls, Idaho last year, the $290 million project that we did from groundbreaking all the way through. And that project was all done on open book billing. There was a budget of $250 million. They added some additional facility to it. But everything was done open book. They were able to see everything. All the savings were taken back. And it's a process that gives architects, engineers, and owners an understanding and the vision to see, this is what we pay for these things. Here's what, you know, here's what our costs are. Here's what the labor costs are. And we just move forward with it. It's really been of great value in the design build arena. We design, if you say, I want to spend $500,000, we design that budget. We all agree that that's the scope of work we perform it, and any savings come back to you. If there's cost overrun and no scope change, that's our burden. And the thing is, we've been in the industry long enough that we know how to estimate and perform our work. And if we don't, shame on us for not doing it on the front end. And it's taken away a lot of the games that get played in the contracting business. It's been a very good thing for us architecturally, the architects and engineers that we work with, and our end users as well.
And one thing, if I may, Todd, is that on the no change order, that's not part of the legislation. That's something we do. And I think the difference is we design everything, like Whitey just said, up front before we sign a contract. So we feel we're 99% confident. That's why we say we're not going to change order unless the customer wants to change anything, because if we screw something up, we're not going to come back to you when we say it's a guaranteed price, not the.
Oh, yeah, we got really good attorneys.
And nobody wins in that arena anyhow, but the attorney.
Attorneys do,
Yeah.
So what do we need to do tonight?
I don't know.
I have a letter of intent that was
Okay.
presented, so.
Please.
Like that. Do we need a motion and anything like that, or?
Well, you need a motion about this.
That motion, like, this says.
And I'm a little confused, if the qualifications are due.
No, that's what, you wouldn't sign it yet. That's why I talked with Candy about this, and she said, well, I'm gonna be on, she goes, I'm gonna be on disability, and she has the surgery, and I said, well, really, the qualifications are due the 15th, so it can't be dated before then. And she goes, well, should I get them to sign it? I'm like, you can do whatever you want, but I wouldn't date it, just until you select a provider. So whenever your next board meeting is, you select a provider.
This is clarifying a lot, because when I started reading this, it's like, when did we do RFQs and when did?
The RFQ, yeah, it was advertised, and
We did it
month and a half ago,
a
'cause
month
it's
and a
due
half
tomorrow.
ago, and then did it a second time
Yeah,
as required. And
by the state.
the RFQ proposal deadline is tomorrow, and we've only received one guaranteed service provider.
And who was that from?
Uh,
So, I appreciate that. These are dated November 1st, so I think these need to be redone.
Oh, yeah, I can read them. Yeah, that's just when I gave them to Kenny when we did the open book webinar. But I can do them for the 15th, and then if you guys decide to approve at your next board meeting.
That's what we talked about at the last meeting, because I had some questions and felt we all needed to hear this, so we squeezed you in before our next meeting so we could consider it at that time. So our action tonight is, there is no action.
No action.
It's really to receive
Yes.
information and ask questions.
When's the next
And I
board
don't,
meeting?
I don't think we need you back in the meeting.
December 2nd, I believe.
Yeah, it's December 3rd.
I'm sorry?
December 3rd, the next meeting.
Okay. Yeah, the only thing would be is if procurement of merchandise, if you wanted to do, much like you did tonight, review the RFQ, the respondents to the RFQ, select a provider, and if you select Havel, then sign the letter of intent prior to that. That would allow us to get the material ordered so we can start on the project for you, is all
Well,
the LOI is.
if we all want to, just to not waste time, we can, I guess, provide, I guess what I would propose, if we're comfortable, we know who the respondent's going to be.
Right.
I don't think there's going to be any last minute surprises. So this is set up with board president's signature. So we could, if you want, have a motion to authorize my execution of this subsequent or after the one. And
It would execute it on Monday would be fine,
or
Todd.
whatever, have it redated,
I will.
send it in, and we'd like to have Jeff look at it, but if he hasn't already, that's our turn. But that would be some action we could do to not have to wait till the next meeting if you're all comfortable with that.
Jeff Quackenbush? Is that who?
No, Jeff.
Oh, okay.
Our local attorney.
Okay.
Quackenbush is too expensive.
Well, I would so move that we pursue this.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion?
What happens if somebody does submit something tomorrow?
Well, then I'm not gonna, we'll come back and revisit it at the next
Okay.
meeting.
What normally happens to that, just to answer that, if there is another respondent other than Havel, MCOR, Shambaugh, you would, again, basically what you're doing is you're asking for resumes and a request for qualification. You choose your provider, and once you've made that choice, the choice is done. Our letter of intent says all that is that we will provide you with the engineering services and order the product. If you choose another provider, you just owe us for the engineered services that we've got in our pricing agreement and the product. That's all it is, if you would choose another provider. So that way, we don't hold the project up by not getting the product and the engineering done.
Todd's not gonna sign it
He's not
until
gonna sign it.
Right.
until after the trial, so.
And Melissa, if you did get 3 or 4, you guys as a board, just like you do when you hire an architect, have the availability to interview all 4, interview none, and make a selection from that as well, so.
I'm good.
So will you be out on Black Friday getting the best price for the equipment?
We've already got the best price. Black Friday just doesn't do much in our industry anymore.
You don't have it in your wish list on Amazon?
It's Black Thursday now.
Yeah, Thursday night, right?
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. We
Thank you
appreciate
so
your time.
much.
Dan, do you want me to send an updated dated one to you tomorrow? Okay,
Yeah, because Candy's gonna be out for a couple weeks.
okay. Thanks again for your time.
A motion to
Thank
adjourn.
you, guys.
That's
I
our
move
only-
we adjourn.
Sorry?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion in 2 seconds. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Adjourned.
All right,
All right,
very good.
thanks.
We can